Okay, so the first thing that I actually want to ask you is, you see, this is kind of an obvious question, but how do you actually start a podcast? Because I think you were about to actually feature in some webinar, I think. So I actually saw in your LinkedIn profile some days back that you were about to present a webinar like how to start a podcast. Like other than the technical details like mics and everything and stuff, what do you think a podcast actually requires when it comes to starting a podcast, especially when it comes to guest related?
I think like starting, you don't need any special equipment or any special software or anything like that. The only thing you really need is a passion. The only thing you really need is a desire to want to make content, and that could be around anything that you want. What I would always say, and the reason why I started my own one, is because I was having these conversations anyway. So I'd always set up phone calls with other young entrepreneurs that would inspire me and I'd love to speak to. And every time at the end of them, I would learn so much. And I'd always say, wouldn't it be amazing if these conversations could be recorded just for me to listen back to? And, for other people, I think would be really valuable to learn from. And that's where the whole podcast came from. So for anyone else that's kind of looking for, if they're interested in a podcast firstly, but they don't really know what to do it around something that you were going to talk about anyway. So that could be around if you're talking to your friends, it could literally be like you and your friends talking about random things. I've listened to so many podcasts like that, and they're really fun. And some of my favorite ones are exactly like that, where it's just two people talking. They've got, a good sort of connection with each other, good energy, good vibes. And so that's the sort of thing that I really like listening to as well. So you can literally do it around anything and whatever you're kind of passionate about. And the beauty with, a podcast is you can go as niche as you want. And there's always bound to be sort of a group of people that will probably listen to you. So you could do a podcast on fishing or whatever. People will listen to it because there's always going to be at least 1,000 people out there in the world. As niche as you want to go, there's at least that many people out there that will find that sort of thing interesting. So, and so that's really it, really. Wherever you think, whatever sort of conversation that you're having anyway, literally just press record with, your headphones, what I'm wearing now, headphones, what you're wearing. You don't even need the microphone that you've got there. You can literally just use headphones. But and then everything apart from that is free. So the software I use, Audacity, is free to edit. I use Anchor to distribute. That's also free. Getting guests on my podcast, you don't have to pay them or anything. They come on for free. Pretty much every stage of it is free. The only thing that I paid for was a logo, and that was £30 that I paid one of my friends to do. And I don't mind paying a friend of mine because I'm supporting him. So that was it, really. Then that's been my only cost since to date, and I've been going for about 3 months. And the only sort of annoying thing is the editing. That's the only thing where I don't really like doing that. But I think honestly, that's just something that you have to deal with. And I've got quite quick at that now, as probably you have, and as probably anyone that gets into it. And you're always going to improve as well. I think loads of people, when they speak to me, they're like, will anyone actually listen to me? I think I'm a little bit boring. Will anyone actually listen? And the thing is, people will actually listen. You'll be surprised. There are, people will listen. I had no idea that people in Qatar would find my page. And yet, I've been ranked number 3 in the entrepreneurial chart in Qatar on Apple Podcasts, which for me is crazy. I'm not even, targeting that country, and I don't know. So they're going to find you somehow. And so, that's really it. That's basically the whole thing behind it.
Oh, that's good. And this is when I wanted to clarify when it comes to editing is that it's actually kind of a personal problem for me, because when you put on your headphones, and I actually use Audition, not to edit my podcast. I just want to learn a lot about it so that I got it and everything. When I was editing, even every effect that I put in my Audition, mostly it will be the same in Audacity, just a little bit of interface changes. it kind of feels the same. If I am editing this podcast, even if I put some effect like vocal enhancer or a parametric equalizer or dynamic processing, anything like that, it kind of still feels the same for me. Is that a problem in my ears or my mindset that it's actually sounding the same? Because I don't know, I've been trying a lot to improve that, but still it's not possible for me to see the difference. I mean, like, what is it required to do that?
Well, as in you're trying to improve the sort of like sound quality.
Yeah, kind of.
The thing, I'm still learning this, to be honest. I learned the other day that there's like a compression tool which will make things sound a lot better. I found that as soon as I kind of discovered that, and that's a tool on Audacity. You do it and it kind of like cuts out all the really highs and the really lows of audio.
EQ compression, I guess.
So it makes it sound like a lot more professional, I guess. So like if someone laughs or if someone laughs or someone like raises their voice slightly, it kind of brings it down a little bit and makes it sound a lot better and less harsh on the ear when your listeners listen. I'm still discovering this stuff, but it's not the end of the world if you don't discover that stuff. And what I've kind of found is that I was in the early stages, I was extremely critical of my work. I was cutting out like every time my guest would be like or I'd cut that out. Every time there was a little bit of silence in between me talking and them talking, I'd cut that out. I would try so much to make it as perfect as possible. And as time's gone on, so I play around with the stuff that you just talked about with those tools. As time's gone on, I've kind of relaxed my expectations and my standards, because your listeners don't hold your work as accountable as you. They don't expect as high a standard as you do. So it's okay. They're just interested in you. They're interested in your personality, your content, your story that you're trying to convey. They're not really interested too much about the quality. However, there is like a bottom. Like you can't, just be awful sound quality. They can't be like cutting out all the time or, it has to sound like decent, but it doesn't have to be outstanding. That's what I would say really is focus more on content quality and, conveying your personality, your actual, what you got into the game to do, to have these sort of like really cool conversations, and care less about the sort of, the sound's not as perfect as I want it to be, because the audience at the end of the day, they don't care as much as you do about the quality. They care more about you, the content.
Yeah, you're right. And I actually kind of you're absolutely right, because I actually kind of discovered this in when it comes to Tim Ferriss show. The latest episode, actually before that, he was interviewing Hugh Jackman. Okay, he was on the show and he was interviewing him. And one thing I found is that on the Tim Ferriss end, the quality was really good. Obviously, he would have an awesome mic and everything and stuff. And on Hugh Jackman's side, it wasn't like that much great, but it was able to listen. People were able to listen, but I mean, like, there were a lot of listeners for that, podcast. So that's one of the reasons I discovered is that, I mean, like, obviously, even if Hugh Jackman talked on an extremely awful mic, there are obviously people who listen. But, considering the fact that the audio quality was like that, I think, in podcaster's perspective, I think you're right, it didn't matter a lot. So, yeah, and this is something that another thing is that if you are like interviewing someone, let's say, for example, like, someone that you're hesitant to interview, let's say, for example, okay, so I actually done my example itself. So this is actually the first episode of season 4 of the podcast, so but I actually recorded second, third and fourth episodes before as well, so I actually reserved this pod for you. So in the fourth episode or third episode, I think so, yeah, I actually had a podcast. It was called as How I Fuck. That's the podcast name. So it's actually a sex podcast, and it's kind of education sex one podcast it was. And I was really hesitant to to do the interview, because I was really afraid, coming from India, an orthodox place. It was actually really afraid. I was really afraid, like, I don't know what I'm going to talk and ask. I mean, if I say something wrong, I mean, like, would it be bad and everything? But it actually really went well. I mean, like, she was having really good, stats, and she was having really good experience when it comes to podcasting and editing and everything and stuff. So a lot of good things were discussed on the podcast. So how do you actually remove the judgment? Because as a new podcaster, it's actually really hard, because you'll never know what the guest is. They were about to say something. I mean, like, if you're hesitant to do and not being open and everything. So have you ever really suffered that? Or if not, no problem. But how do you actually, just succumb that? How is it possible?
So how do you kind of make the conversation as, you know, as open as possible? Is that what you're trying
kind
to
of
get at?
removing the judgment and everything.
Yeah, like what I always, I always try to get my guests as open as possible. Like for me, I find what I absolutely love is authenticity and like realness. I don't like all the fake stuff that's around like entrepreneurship, and there is loads of fake stuff around. I want to know that person for them and that actual story. I don't want them to just highlight all the good stuff that's happened in their business, because for me that's just not valuable, because I could probably read that. I want to hear about like how they felt. I want to know about you know, the emotional obstacle that they had to overcome, because you're actually seeing that person's personality and that person's, you know, journey. So I very much, like, at the beginning, I struggled with what you were talking about. Not to the extent of what was the guess that you said, how do I what?
How I fuck. That's the name of the podcast.
How I
yeah. You see, as you can see, the name itself is really hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Is that the name of their podcast?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's going back to like an earlier point I made, that's a prime example of something that she's, or he, is it a man or a woman? That she's passionate about. She loves talking about that sort of thing. So she's recorded the conversations that she was probably going to have anyway, and she's put them out there. And so she's very comfortable already talking about that sort of thing. So for you, it's not so much about judgment. It's more about overcoming your own personal, I'm scared of asking this. Because if you actually think about it, she's actually very open talking about that sort of stuff. It's more about you in this circumstance. Whereas, and that's fine. Like, you just have to go in with an open mind, and she's probably willing to give up a lot of stuff, like probably more than a lot of other guests that don't have that sort of podcast. But for me, for entrepreneurs, like, I've asked some stuff that, you know, people have opened up quite a lot to me, and I really like that, and that's the sort of thing that people have messaged me about, being like, this was really cool. Like, I learned so much from this. I even had like a woman message me saying, like, at the end of one of your podcasts, the guy's story like made me have a tear in my eye and stuff. And like, for me, that's an amazing thing. Because one of my guests, like, this guy is making washing machines for poor communities. So like hand crank washing machines. And he was talking about how his father passed away when he was young, and yeah, so he basically like talked about that. And I kind of got to the point where I wanted to ask him about, did that sort of, you know, passing away of your father, did that motivate you to do all of this stuff? Because it's a very selfless thing that you're doing, and it's not the sort of traditional. He could have got a really good job in an engineering firm, and it would have been, you know, he would have made a lot more money. But this is something driven into this, and I wanted to find out what it was. And so the first thing I always say when I'm asking a slightly dangerous question is, we can edit this out, but that's what I always say. And as soon as I say that, I feel like it's kind of like, okay, they're going to ask me something like a little bit out there. And if I don't like it, I'm safe, because I can just tell them to edit it out. That's the beauty of like podcasting, I guess, is that you can always take stuff out. And I have taken stuff out. No guest has actually told me to take anything out, by the way. No guest. It's only been for me where I've thought, okay, I think I didn't really ask a great question there, so I've taken it on my own. But so I've had people where that guy came on and his father passed away. I asked about, did he motivate you? And he very much like opened up about that. And I had a girl who came on, like, she survived cancer. This is one of my recent episodes. She survived cancer, and so I was asking her about that. And at the end, she was like, yeah, I opened up a lot more than I thought I would. What I would say is just ask quite open-ended questions and go in with an open mind, because you want to be a safe space. You don't want to be a judgmental sort of place where whatever they say, you're kind of like laughing, or you have to treat them with a lot of respect and their views with a lot of respect. And for me, I don't know, I've always kind of been natural at that. I've always been very open-minded with people's opinions and people's sort of passions. So for me, it was kind of easy. But I guess for other people, just ask open-ended questions and stay silent. That honestly works a lot more than people think.
Yeah, you're right. And it wasn't actually easy because the thing is that I actually wanted her to have on my podcast before she commented on my post. But I actually really afraid, to do that. But when she commented on my post, like, in a podcast guest connection in Facebook, that's how I kind of, sometimes get my guest. So when I got that, I mean, like, I was really, it's like universe is telling me, just do this and trust me, you'll get out of judgment. That's what is kind of the message that, I was thinking that universe is kind of giving me. So yeah, I think, and I really got amazing insights from her. I mean, like, other than the part like how she started the podcast, and I was astonished when she said that. I asked her, I mean, like, was there any judgment from your family, your friends, or anything like that when you were about to start the podcast? And she said no, like 100% no. She said, I was like, if I'm about to start my podcast in my
Yeah.
place, obviously, people will just run and kill me right now. That's obviously the thing that obviously would happen. So it wasn't an easy
Well,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
it's a cultural thing as well. Like
Yeah.
you and I, we come from like different sort of backgrounds and different cultures. So I understand why you say that. I get what you mean, but I mean for her and like
Yeah.
her family, the culture that she's been brought up with. I'm guessing like she's American or she's British.
Yeah, she's American.
Yeah, so it's a very different culture that they've been brought up in, and I've kind of been, I understand because I've been brought up in both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand both sides of the coin. So, but I understand what you mean. Like it's a cultural difference.
Yeah, and it's something that always many people say that it's something that obviously should be changed, but I don't know when it's going to change. So I'm actually ready to get out of India whenever I get the chance, but still it's kind of my home. So even if I go anywhere, I don't think I'll ever feel comfortable as is what we have seen so far. But yeah, if we talk about this, it will like go on for hours and hours and hours, but still nothing would obviously happen. So I think let's jump over to the next
Yeah.
topic. That would be great stuff. So
Was
yeah,
it
the
was
next.
it a good was it a good was it a good interview with her? Was it
Yeah,
fun?
it was an awesome one because like for first 20 minutes I think we were talking about like how she started the podcast and everything and stuff, and when she ended it I just wanted to praise her, like, I mean, like, you are so blessed with so many things. That's one of the things I wanted to tell her because yeah, society with no judgment, it's something that no one can ever get. It's like, even if you are not without money, that's fine, but if without the judgment, I think you can be immortal, I guess. I think, and that's one of my, kind of uh, code that I live up to. But yeah, it was really good, and it will be released soon. So yeah, I'll definitely send it to you. You can just listen to just 5 minutes of it, and trust me, it will be a lot of fun that I can
Yeah,
only
I
imagine.
definitely will. Yeah, I'll
Well,
listen to it. I'll listen to it.
well, thanks. And so the other thing I want to ask you is that what do you actually want to tell to those people who likes shortcuts when it comes to podcasting? Because sometimes, when it comes to podcasting, people always say that they want to rank top in Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or anywhere in a particular category. And sometimes they would, maybe they have good production team and they do all the stuff, they would maybe. But for people like us who are just learning, editing and stuff, we don't have a production team and all to do everything. So we have to do, a record, edit,
Yeah,
and everything and stuff we have to do by own. So what do you want to tell to those people who like who want to do shortcuts when it comes to podcasting?
yeah. I mean, I started the Millennial Entrepreneur, which is my podcast, because like I wanted to inspire younger people to take opportunities, to get inspired by my guests, to start their own business if they want to, or just be more entrepreneurial and use the lessons that they've learned through actually starting their own thing, for themselves. So like for shortcuts, like what sort of shortcuts do you mean? As in like
Certain
I don't know.
promotions, I think, like, like people think that
Oh,
if you
like
advertise a lot.
okay, yeah. I mean, like I think they're getting into it for the wrong sort of mindset. I think they're getting into it for, like, I know a lot of people get into it for like money, because
Yeah.
they see, the really successful podcasters like Joe Rogan and like Tim Ferriss, and they see how much money they're making, and they're like, whoa, like I could do that. But like, there's a very, very select few that make it to that stage. And plus, like, if you actually look at these people, if you actually look at, say, Joe Rogan, for instance, he didn't take any shortcuts in the early stages.
Yeah.
He was quite lucky. Well, not lucky, but he already had a platform. He was a stand-up comedian before. So he already built an audience on his own from like, going to open mic nights and, grinding hard trying to become a stand-up comedian. So the audience that he built from being a stand-up comedian transitioned to a podcast. So he didn't get this audience from like nothing. He actually worked very hard for it. So, and also he's published every day. He's been publishing, near enough every day for ages, and he's got like, I don't know how many episodes he's got. He's over 1,000. I think maybe over like 2,000. He's got so many, and they're all good. They're all like, really, really top quality stuff because of him. He's a very good interviewer. He's got a very good personality when he comes to interviewing. So what I would say is that even if you look at these people and you're like, wow, they're making so much money, I can make that. Actually look at the sort of work they've put in. And if you're willing to put in that work, then yeah, maybe you can get to that level of money someday. But what I would say is that he put in, he's been doing it since like 2009.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for years. So if you're willing to put in that level of dedication, commitment for that many years, and he got a payout like like this year, to Spotify. I know he had like advertising before, but that's like the big sort of payout.
Yeah.
But that was the reward of a lot of hard work. The production team that you're talking about, that came, later on when money started coming in. Like for me, I've been like quite lucky. I've had like a little bit of money come in, and I've thought about, automating some of the tasks that I've already, I don't really like. The editing process, I've thought about it. I'm not serious about it because I like being in control. I'm a bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided straight away on that. But I know a few people that have done that, outsourced a few of their processes, but that's been after a lot of, hard work in the early stages. You can't just start, day one automating unless you've already, built an audience or you've already got some sort of a foundation behind you. But if you're starting from scratch, there's no way. You have to put in the effort and time yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about this editing and stuff, the thing is that I kind of do video editing and audio editing for some of my clients. So the thing is, I actually have a client, and he was going to start a podcast. So he actually asked me like, what are things that I should do? And I was like, wow, he's asking me like how to start a podcast. I mean, like, it's really interesting, when someone asks you like you're doing podcasting, and when someone asks you like how to do a podcast, it's kind of win-win situation for you. So I was saying that, do this and do that. And he said, okay, you can also do the audio editing for me as well, for 10 minutes audio. And I'm actually really being afraid right now. So I finished an Adobe Audition, Udemy course. So for it was 4 hours. I just sit straight 4 hours and just finished it. I just needed the basics and everything and stuff to get to know more about it. And yeah, I'm really afraid. Like I don't know how it's going to be because, like I said, my ears are really. It's not actually. I don't know whether it's working or not, but still, it's kind of everything sounds the same to me. So yeah, I think I know pretty much how the fear of judgment actually kinds of works. Yeah.
Yeah. Then, for sure. Yeah.
And
I'm thinking about doing like another podcast as well. Like as I've started it, I've really, fallen in love with the whole process, and that's something that you kind of have to do. Like I do really enjoy making these episodes and learning more about these people. And I guess if you are thinking about starting it, just start it, see if you actually enjoy the process behind it. I really enjoy talking to these people, and that's what keeps me going. The editing is just a bit dead. I don't really enjoy that. I'm very open with that. I can't, but I know, you have to put in time for stuff that you don't really enjoy to get to where you want to be. And I'm willing to do that. And for people, who want to make, the Joe Rogan money, they have to do that as well. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing another 2 podcasts by the end of this year. So yeah, not on my own, co-hosting this time. The Millenial Entrepreneur, like that one's just me. That one's just like my one, whereas the other ones will be co-hosting with other people.
Yeah, and what are actually the qualities that you want to look at the co-host? Because I was actually recently saw a post in Facebook. One of the guys posted that, has anyone ever got tired of their co-host because they're not actually working properly with me? They said that. So, what are the qualities that would you actually look? As a friend, sometimes you can tag a friend along and everything. But if someone who's more professional, like someone who's already being a content creator, and you want to bring them and also co-host, what are the qualities would you actually see?
Well, the ones that I've wanted to go into,
Mm-hmm.
they share the passion. They share the passion for the idea that I want to pursue. And when we're kind of like bouncing off each other and bouncing really good ideas off each other, that's when I thought, I think this would be a really good synergy here. If they're already in like podcasting, then that's great. But that's not even a word. It more comes down to what skills
Mm-hmm.
do you want to kind of like leverage off each other.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I'm pretty good at like talking. I think I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm all right at like talking,
You are perfect,
interviewing, getting people. You're very kind. Getting people to like open up. That's my skill set, I think. Whereas promoting, marketing, Instagram, all of that stuff, I'm not very good at. I think I need, and I know that's really important. I know that's like massively important because, if you don't market, people don't listen to your stuff. So I was kind of like looking for that sort of skill set in a person because I know that's something I'm weak at.
Yeah.
So if they have that sort of skill set where they're good at promoting and distributing podcasts, then that'll be a perfect synergy right there. And that's the sort of guest that I've come under for one of the other ones of the additional podcasts that I want to do. But for the other one, it wasn't just a podcast. It's more of it's a bigger project where the podcast is just one thing, and then we're doing like a blog post and other content behind it. And it's also a video one, which is new to me. I know you do video ones. I don't do video ones. So that's a new one for me. So I wanted to get people that, they were good at content. They were good at like written content, good at blogs and stuff. And also good at, so in the Instagram side again. So, and I found those sort of people. I think they're not podcasters, but they don't need to be podcasters because that's my job. They're good at their own thing, and I feel like that's a really good synergy there.
Oh, that's great. And why do you actually haven't done a video podcasting? I mean, I will listen to some of your episodes, and it was really great. I mean, like, why but no video? I'm just curious because whenever I do video podcast, one of the reasons I actually do is that I kind of like I kind of have the sentence like I would like to know who I work with. Whatever it is, I just like to know the people. So when I do video, it's kind of really obvious, when someone likes my questions or someone doesn't like my questions. So it's really obvious. So when I can, I can spin it off and I can just change it whenever I like to. So is there any reason why you don't, you don't do actually video or anything like
that? Actually, you'll be surprised. Like at the start when I wanted to start, I wanted to do a video one. And I even had a video one planned. Because I was inspired by Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan one it's all video.
Yeah.
So I even had one planned, but he ended up getting really busy and he couldn't make it. And the next sort of week, the UK went into lockdown, so no one could like travel to each other. But I still wanted to start the podcast, so that's kind of how it happened. But then I thought, I mean, there is like Skype and Zoom and like what we're using now, but I don't know. It kind of just went to, I don't know. For me, it just went to an audio one, and it's kind of stuck like that, really. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I don't mind doing a video one. I like video ones. It's just I thought video ones might be more effort, but I don't think they are. I mean, you could probably answer this question better than me. Like, are they more effort than an audio one?
When it comes to editing, actually, there is you have to look at a lot, and I think a little bit it is because you have to check your background, because I actually have I don't have a green screen right now, but I have a plain wall, so I thought of making use of it as well. So I think a little bit of effort, but I don't know. It comes to people's perspective. I kind of enjoy video, so I don't see any effort in that. But sometimes it's kind of an effort, a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I want to do it in person is because I really like the sort of like energy, as in the energy of the room, and asking. So, like you said, if someone likes your question or not just by the sort of look on their face. And for me, I thought it'd be best to have that sort of like connection with a guest. to get like my personality across in, you know, the same room when we're talking to each other. It's all natural.
Yeah.
That's what I thought the best, you know, way would be. And it didn't happen in the end, but I still think that energy is kind of like there.
Yeah.
But I mean, nothing beats an in-person sort of conversation. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't really know why I think I went to audio because for me, it just seemed like an easier thing to start off with, because I didn't know how to video edit at all. I barely knew how to audio edit, but I knew more than video editing. So it just ended up going as what I knew and what would be easier to start off with.
Yeah, you're right. Because actually, as you're saying that, in person, interviews actually really, really great. I mean, like, I was really get jealous when Gary Vaynerchuk does that. Having conversation, face to face, and it was an total awesome one. And I wish I could do that, but obviously, I can't make people travel to my home, because obviously, whenever someone I want to interview, they're obviously in UK or US or somewhere in the northern side of India. So obviously, they won't be next to me right away. So it's actually totally impossible to do that. But
that's another thing. I think it's not scalable either.
Yeah.
You can't interview a lot of people. So like, it was a good thought for me at the beginning, but if I actually went down that route, it wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have happened.
Oh, that's awesome. So just one question, just to take out of the context, actually. So I guess it's actually morning or evening there. What your timing is actually?
Right now it's evening. It's
evening,
like 5. Let me check. Yeah, it's 4:52.
Awesome.
So it's almost 5.
Okay, so this question will be appropriate. So the question is that, who was the last person that you made smile today?
I've been inside all day. I made myself smile.
That's good.
That doesn't count. Does that count?
Yeah, of course.
No, probably
over phone or somewhere.
Like, yeah, the thing is, like, my family's been like all over the place because we've got like builders in our back garden, so they've been like with them. So I haven't really talked about it. I think I spoke to one of my friends today because he was on a podcast actually, and I thought he was a very good guest. So I basically like messaged him. I was like, I think he smiled. Like, I was saying yeah, that was a really good episode. Basically just praising him. But I think that must have made us smile, I suppose. It's weird because
if you sent an emoji, I think that would count.
Yeah, I mean, I just messaged him out of the blue saying like, yeah, that was a really good episode, I thought. But I mean, yeah, I'm just at home, so it's just like my mum and my dad. So yeah, and I haven't really like seen that much today because they've been with the builders. Yeah, makes me come across as a really like a loner, but I just don't really go outside in this time.
Yeah, I mean, like, actually, I'm really sorry. I know you make thinking a lot. I made you think a lot. I'm sorry for that. It's just
I had to think about that.
Yeah, it's just actually, someone asked me this question. When I was interviewing guest, one of the guests asked me this question, and it was really hard for me to answer. Then I actually wondered I asked him, why did you ask me this question? And he said that if you could answer that question, within 10 seconds or 5 to 10 seconds, then obviously you impacted someone, someone's life that day. So I actually didn't answer that question. Within 10 to 15 seconds, I was wondering, like, who did I make smile? I mean, like, yeah, I would be always in my room just editing and doing stuff like, yeah. I really wish I have a white room, in the minimalist setting, but obviously I don't have that right now. But yeah, but I think that's one of the reasons why I always ask this this guest. But yeah, I think it goes from different to different person. So okay, so now I think you should actually drink a lot of water, because I'm actually going to do kind of rapid fire question. 5 questions I'll ask. So what you can do is just how to say.
All right, go ahead.
How to say, you can answer like 1 or 2 sentences. Okay, it's kind of related to podcasting and how to say, kind of like some thought around that. So I'm new to this, so don't expect too much from me. It's just an normal conversation going. So
nah, it's fine. Don't worry.
Awesome. So the first question is that what do you actually like about podcast?
Speaking to people that I wouldn't have been able to speak to otherwise. So getting people on, and the reason why I say that is because with a podcast, it's a instrument for me. It's a tool for me to ask people who inspire me to come on, who, you know, I don't know, who I can relate to. So I think that's what I like about it. So getting people on, and the reason why I say that is because getting, like with a podcast, it's a instrument for me. It's a tool for me to ask people who inspire me to come on, who, you know, I don't know, who I can relate to. So I think that's what I like about it. So getting people on, and the reason why I say that is because getting, like with a podcast, it's a instrument for me to ask people who inspire me to come on, who, if it was just me without the podcast, they wouldn't reply to my email. They wouldn't come on. But the podcast is an instrument for me to use to network. And that's really a very underrated thing that I don't think people actually realize. So yeah, that's what I really like about it.
Awesome. So what do you don't like about the podcast?
Oh, it's editing. It's just editing, like endless editing. Yeah, it's just editing, and I mean, it's not like, and also like the marketing aspect of it, the Instagram stuff. I just like talking. Talking is the thing that I really like. So everything like that isn't around that, I could like do with it not being there. But what else?
I think that's a major thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. So
and also guests being a little bit late as well. Well, you can't really help that.
yeah, sometimes. And the next is that if you have never done a podcast, you never started your Millenial Entrepreneur pod or anything like that, what else you would have done in that time?
What would I have done if I didn't start this? Well, like I'm always like keeping busy with other projects, so like I'm hopefully coming out with like another like business soon. So I've been working on that in lockdown also. So just really dedicating more time to that really. I've thought about other sort of avenues of content creation, if like, so in the same sort of bracket as podcasting. So I've thought about like blogs. So I started a blog also recently, but if I didn't have a podcast, I'd probably spend like more time on that. I've also thought about TikTok, but I haven't really taken it very seriously. Like, I know it's banned in India, so you can't really, you can't really use it. But I know it's a really, it's a really powerful tool that I want to hopefully make use of. But I'm still kind of working out what I would actually like post, so I don't really know. So yeah, I guess more thinking around that.
Okay, so the fourth question is that if in case you are driving a car and you get hit and you are about to die. I mean, like don't think I'm going to negative sense, but you're about to die. Who would be the first person that actually came into your mind?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I was going to say, my mum. That's what I would say.
Wow, that's right.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, just because like the effort and sort of dedication that she's put into bringing me up. I've been like very lucky, I know, because a lot of people haven't had that sort of relationship with their parents. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. So the final question is actually kind of something that they should definitely answer. All right. So don't ignore that. If in case that you want to, stop this podcast right now and just want to get away from it, what would you say the reason would be?
Maybe to dedicate more time to other stuff. That's what I think. Yeah. So I think
I wouldn't get away. I think you kind of misunderstood the question. Actually, what I was asking is that this interview right now. If you want to stop this interview right now and want to go, what would you say and go?
If I had to make something up, I'd probably I don't know. I'd say I've got a phone call with someone in a bit, or I'd say I've got a podcast scheduled. Yeah, that's what I'd say. It's like bailing on like a date, isn't it?
yeah, it's kind of I was in office from the call. I have to go. They're like,
yeah. Oh no, someone's like text me. I need to go.
All right, great. I know one of the reasons why I actually love to ask this question is that if in case something like this ever happens, I can kind of keep in my data management, mind is saying that, okay, this is kind of happening again and again. Obviously, there's a particular reason for it. So yeah, I think I kind of, have that as well. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on to it. And so the one final question I want to ask you is that what would you actually give as the best tip, in the whole world that you want to provide to a fellow podcaster in order to grow? The best tip in the whole world.
Best tip, just start around something that you're passionate about. That's really it. And I know it sounds kind of like cliche, but just start around something that I've said this so many times already on the podcast, but start around something that you're already going to talk about. And that means literally anything it can mean, different things to everyone. So for you, you're passionate about podcasting. So you created a platform for podcasting. That's what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's around young entrepreneurship. I want to create a podcast around that. And my new podcasts are around stuff that I'm also passionate about. For that girl that you interviewed, it was about like sexual relationships. She was passionate about that. She did a podcast around that. It's whatever like you want to talk about, whatever that you and your friends talk about, whatever like is in your mind the most, what you wake up with and you're like, this is the thing that motivates me, this is the thing that drives me. That's what you do a podcast about. Because otherwise you won't, when it gets to oh, I have to edit this, oh, I have to like put it on Instagram, I have to find a guest. That gets really long. That process gets really long, and it will make you very quickly fall out of love with it, just because you pick something that you don't really, love in the first place. So, and if you pick something like that, the amount of listens that you get, or all of that stuff, money that you like won't make, that won't really faze you, because you're making something that you really enjoy, and that could, and if you're doing it around that, and you're getting guests on, assuming that you're making something, with guests, you're getting guests on that have similar interests to you, that also, love the thing that you love. So you're also, widening your network. Mm-hmm. And without the podcast, you might not be able to do that. So it's a very good tool for that sort of thing. So it all comes down to what what inspires you, what your passion is. Because it would just, it will open doors for you in something that you love. It will just improve sort of everything that you are already motivated about. That's a very long answer, but I hope that is good.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of, how to say, hence developing from first to start. So yeah, I think it's very, because that's one of the things that is really hard, because people find it really, kind of impossible to start. It's kind of like starting trouble in, not just in vehicles, but in humans, it's kind of an extreme, a tough thing to do. And because when I started, I had no idea I was actually starting a podcast. All I know was that I'm going to talk to someone, I'm going to record and publish. That's all I know. Because at that time, only the Anchor came out, and it was really interesting. I never knew someone would come on to my show, but I was having this really, really bad phone. Really, the battery was a little bit puffed up. I didn't even know when it was about to explode. That was actually the mobile that I was having. Still, I was so, crazy enough to do that. So, yeah, that's really.
Actually, the first time, sorry to interrupt you. The first time I was another like piece of advice is that, don't be put off if the first episode or the first few episodes they're a bit shit. Yeah. Because am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course. So, we had talked before that also.
Yeah. So don't be put off by that, because like I was so nervous in the first episode. Like I was really, really nervous. I was like shaking. I don't know why I was so nervous, but I was so nervous. I had like a glass of water next to me, and I just spilled it all over my laptop, like by mistake. And it just broke down my laptop. Like the screen just went black. And I was like, oh my God, like, oh, fuck's sake. So I had to like message the guy. I was like, yeah, I have to cancel. I can't do this because my laptop just doesn't work. So I had to like dry my laptop off for like 5 days. And then luckily it's still alive. It still works. What we're doing it right now is the laptop where it drowned. But that's what I mean. Like I was so nervous. So don't be put off if you are nervous in the early stages, or you have sort of like apprehensions, because every episode that you do, you'll improve on. Like the first episode I did, it was more of a planning episode. So it was just one that, so I recorded it with a friend of mine, just to test like myself, like how it all kind of works from start to finish. So like, loading up the software. So I use Zencaster to record, getting the guest on, recording it, editing it, putting the music on, all of that stuff, publishing it, all of that stuff. I wanted to do it from start to finish to see like how the whole process works before I actually, do it on a real guest. So it was even the not real episode that I spilled water on my laptop because I was just so nervous. So don't be put off if the first one's just a bit shit, because it just will be a bit shit.
Yeah, I can clearly understand. It's not it was really bad for me as well, but yeah, I don't know. Actually, seriously I have no idea why I actually just kept on going, but I was really astonished because I still kind of keep in touch with the first ever guest on my phone, because I've actually interviewed like
Yeah,
50 or
exactly.
55
Yeah.
people so far. But yeah, I think the first person that I ever interviewed, I still have in touch with them, and I also that sometimes I post a story, if I can ever get emotional or kind of get 100 like 200 300 kind of listens, I get emotional and I just tell him that thank you so much, only because of his actually everything is going on and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good thing
Yeah,
to do.
like my first guest and me, actually all of my guests up until maybe 10, like we still talk like pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And everything from like 10 onwards, like some of them I'm still in touch with like fairly regularly, some of them like not as much, but that comes back down to the sort of like networking thing, is that you're talking to people that you're is in your sort of like passion domain, and like you're obviously passionate about this because you've carried on for so long. So yeah, like the first one, the first sort of few, I guess they have a more of a like personal connection to you.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is. I think because they believed in you in the first stages, because like there was nothing there. There was nothing for them to be like, oh, I'll do this because it's good for my own like personal image or whatever. They literally did it because they wanted to help you out. Yeah, so I think there is that sort of, I have it as well. So it does, those sort of people I really, I always thank them as well. And those episodes are still, they're racking in views. Like one of my fourth episode, that one's got like 240 listens, and it's still growing. And I have no idea why it's still growing. To be honest, I have no idea. But he was one of my first guests, and so like, yeah, obviously people like that one. So those ones feel very special to me.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the second guest I had, she's actually my client right now. That's actually because she actually, I interviewed her actually like, how to say, a year back. And she, we were actually, I was texting her like a little bit of something and stuff. And she actually asked me after a year, like, can you do this editing for me? We do all this stuff. It was actually really funny because when I was, talking about the prices, I really suck at pricing. I don't know why, but I really, really suck at pricing stuff, because I kind of know how to do everything at free. I don't know why, because, to take everything off Canva and, free editors online, I don't know how to do that. So when I do that, I kind of really feel guilty when I price a little bit high. Okay, so I don't know why, because it was like that. So when I was discussing price with her, she was actually laughing, and I was actually kind of laughing as well, because we know that it's not the right price to do. And she said, you can do this and do that, and it was sort of stuff that happened. And yeah, I think it's gone totally crazy. And actually, yeah, one thing.
Well, I guess like
yeah,
Carol. I was gonna say, I guess that like for you, the podcast, as in your podcast has got you like an extra client, and I know for a lot of people, their passion is also their job, as in like it's an extended version of their job. So for them, like when they get guests on, they can very much like sell directly to their guests, which is a really cool thing. If you think about it, which it's a networking thing again.
Yeah, and as in video editing goes, everyone requires a video. So it's kind of everyone records something on their phone. So I think I have a opportunity, but still I've never actually directly sold to my client. I never actually did that, because I don't know. I never actually came like deliberately to that. But even if they ask, I'll tell them this is that. If you don't want, no problem, and fine. But I really hate being salesy, and it's kind of always screwed my life over for so many times before. So I stopped being that, and that's how it actually went. And is there anything like finally you want to ask me, like turning the tables? Is there anything like that?
So it cut out for a sec. What did you say?
Is there anything else you want to ask me, like you being the interviewer right now and I'm being the guest? Is there anything like that?
Well, I'd love to know like how the whole like video editing. Why did you decide to go down the video route and not the audio route? And also like how was it in the early stages? Because you've been going on like longer than I have. So how was it in the early stages?
Well, it was how to say, extremely lonely, in one word. If I say that, that's how it was, because it was really hard to in my side, it was really hard to people understand that video editing is actually a thing, and you can actually earn a lot from that. It's actually really hard to convince my parents saying that, because whenever I was doing that, instead, as you know, the India, when people doing something other than their studies and everything, they would literally shout. That's what obviously everyone would do, and my parents was just like that. So it took me 2 years, to learn exactly what editing is, and how to actually perfect in it. It took me 2 years for that, and after 2 years, I started to earn money out of it. Then my parents always say that, "Oh, that's really great, congrats." I'm like, you were screwing me for 2 years, saying that it was not good for your life, and now you're saying that after earning my money. And it was like, yeah, I mean, like, their parents, obviously they are supposed to do that. So yeah, I think I didn't take a lot of that, but
Yeah.
that actually also pushed me, their sometimes their misunderstanding actually pushed me to do further itself. So yeah, I think, and the audio route is kind of, like I said, my ear is kind of not actually properly working so far. So I think that's one of the reasons why I never actually went into audio, and video is kind of visual a lot. So yeah, that's how I went, and it was really lonely. I mean, like, no people literally none understood me, like what I was doing. And to get a friend like that itself, as a video editor, someone else, it was pretty hard. So yeah, but it's really great now. Like, I can make people understand like what am I doing and everything. So it's like money matters, when it comes to making people understand, I guess.
Yeah, like that's with my like granddad as well. Like he doesn't know, like obviously just doesn't know what a podcast is. So like
Hmm.
he always says like, how's your like radio going? And I'm like, it's not that's not what it is. And he's like why are you doing it? Why do you do it? And then I'm just like, well, yeah, I enjoy doing it and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, but there's no money in it, is there? And I'm like, well, like, and then eventually when I got this like sponsorship, he was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. But yeah, I
That's
mean, it
awesome.
shouldn't be like that, should it? But
Yeah.
it's just the way. Like, if I didn't get the sponsorship, I would have carried on. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
like, I don't know, but I'm not doing it for like them. I'm doing it for my own sort of personal. And I know in the long term, that's the thing. You have to be patient with it because
Hmm.
it's a long game. You won't get the rewards from day one. It's gonna be it'll be a long process. But once you get, once you'll say like a year in, 2 years
Hmm.
in, maybe even 3 years in, that's when the sort of like rewards like come in. I was just very fortunate that they've come in like at this stage
Yeah.
because I know that they don't come in this early. But yeah, I was kind of in the right place at the right time with these guys, as in I got some free LinkedIn ads. So there was some free
Wow.
adverts, yeah, some free credit, just like randomly. So I took full use of it. I
Hmm.
advertised on LinkedIn. And this company saw me and they were like, I think they thought I was like bigger than I actually was because I was like sponsored on LinkedIn. As in I was sponsoring, I was advertising on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So they must have thought I was like a lot bigger than I actually was. Like and like just because I wasn't paying for it, like LinkedIn was paying
Hmm.
for it.
Yeah.
So they basically messaged me and they were like, yeah, so like uh we can give you this money if you like promote this. I was like, yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be really good. So that's basically how it happened.
Yeah.
But I know, like I was very lucky.
Hmm.
This doesn't happen like 2 months, 3 months in. Um, but like you have to be consistent. As in, I didn't do it for that, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you keep working, those things will come because people will notice you. If you keep
Hmm.
going, people will notice.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I kind of disagree with, being luck. I mean, like, you were consistent all along. I actually saw in your post, you were consistent all along. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I actually got that. I kind of, I don't know why, I don't be like, it's not like offending you or anything, but when it comes to, the word luck, it kind of really, really, I don't know, because I never get lucky. Okay, luck in my life has never ever happened. I just have to work my ass off to do that. So yeah, I think when people say that, they're lucky, I kind of, no, it's not luck. It's actually work. It's actually work. It's not luck. So that's one of the reasons why I actually kind
No,
of
you
say
have
that.
to. The thing is, like, I think Tiger Woods said, like, he was like, the harder I work, the luckier I get, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, if you do, because people can be. I think luck is a thing because
Mhm.
you can be extremely lucky, But if you continue to work hard, the chances of you getting that break, that luck is bigger than like if you're not doing it.
Yeah.
I was just in the right place at the right time at that stage. But I think it was luck. And if you or anyone like listening who's thinking about doing a podcast or who's just started, if they carry on, like those opportunities will come, because you will eventually get noticed by someone, or you will, you even create your own sort of like luck where you reach out to all these people. And there is always an element of luck, because if you if you are like after sponsorship or whatever, if you're reaching out to, there's two sort of ways to do it. Like either you keep making stuff and wait for people to come to you, which, that takes even longer.
Yeah.
I was very lucky, like it happened to me, but normally it doesn't happen. Or there's like number two, where you basically DM or email or go out to as many companies or people that you think would be interested in collaborating with you as possible. And that's what I was doing actually in some of the stages, not for money, but for promotion. So I was like, I'll promote your brand on my platform if you promote like mine in your newsletter. And actually that's a very good tool. I was actually very good, because I always did it at the end of the podcast, and they always did it in their newsletters, and it helped us both out, because I was going after brands that I thought people would really love. So I went after, I did a shout out to a program that was basically promoting ethnic minority founders. They're giving some money to ethnic minority founders to start their own business. And I thought like it was really cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll promote you guys, because it's something that I want to promote. I think people would love to hear. And they were like, yeah, sure. And we'll promote you in our newsletter that goes out to all these people. So I was like, okay, sweet. So I was basically DMing all these people. Most people say no, but you'll get lucky. Someone will see it and be like, oh, this looks quite good. I'm going to pass this on to my superior, and we're going to get this going. But that's the thing. If you keep, going at it, that chance of someone being like, hang on, this guy's got something, that chance is like way higher than if you just sit there and wait for someone to come to you. And that just all comes down, it's the same thing of just like working hard as much as possible, and eventually that luck will come to you.
Yeah, right. And actually that's a really good new idea. Actually, I never had that as well. So I think people might really use that. So yeah. Oh, that's very great. And it's really an awesome conversation. So thanks so much for coming on to the podcast. It really means a lot. And
no, my pleasure, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Well, that's really great. And guys, if any of you want to connect with them, I'll actually give a link in the description. You can go with that. And I left timestamps also, like what are things that we've discussed so far, and a lot of stuff that we discussed. And some of the rapid fire round is also really good when it comes to it. So yeah, you can go and check that out as well. And we'll see you guys next.